Miss Lily Bell Allen got out of the car, raised her hands in the air, and said, "Don't shoot." At that point, there was one shot, and then there was 100 shots.
I think about her today, wondering how she would react to what we are doing and how things are right now as to those people that killed her, you know. She would probably be forgiving, you know. That's the kind of person she was.
One crisp morning in April 2000, along a dusty road in East Manchester Township, Donnie Altland stopped running away. He had made peace with his family, asked God for forgiveness, pulled a .22 pistol out of his pickup, and squeezed a bullet into his temple. The secret he held for 3 decades was out. It was an awful secret about belonging to a gang that drew a line around its neighborhood on the month of July the 21st, 1969, then grew bloodthirsty, awaiting a carload of black people. Lily Bell Allen, the daughter of a Baptist minister, became the sacrificial lamb that hot summer evening. The 27-year-old divorced mother of 2 innocently stumbled into the middle of a city's civil racial war, just north of the Mason-Dixon line. But no one would win this war. Each side would blame the other. Some would call it even, as one black woman and one white police officer lost their lives. After 1 week of fighting, the war ended, but a battle raged on in York. Lives had been reshaped and recast, unalterably changed. Hattie Dixon would never move far from where Lily Bell's blood had been spilled, across York's railroad tracks, staining the hands of boys and men, for everything less worthy of her precious life and existence.
I am the youngest sister of Lily Bell Allen. I was 13 years old at that time. On this day, July the 21st.
Take your time.
1969, 51 years ago, Lily Bell life was taken here on Newberry Street, near the tracks, at the age of 27 years old, as a result of a race riot that was taking place here at that time.
This was her sister talking and laughing with her this minute, and the next minute she was no more. Gone, taken for nothing. She was driving the car the night her sister was murdered during the 1969 riots in York. How could she put up with that? How could anyone? The imagination of what she had once seen with her naked eyes once upon a time. Traumatic. The killing of her own sister right before her very eyes. Her life changed all of a sudden, and forever. Hattie Dixon, Lily Bell Allen's sister, lived all through the rest of her earthly days, a very miserable woman, to say the least. It was a lesson that Dixon took to heart. It gave her strength, resolve, and determination, qualities she relied upon as she awaited the day that her sister, Lily Bell Allen, killed in an ambush during the 1969 race riots in York, would receive some modicum of justice. And that justice did come. She had to wait a little more than 33 years. But she finally saw that day when the men responsible for her sister's death were brought to justice. She played a large role in that. By the time of the trial in 2002, Hattie Dixon was the lone survivor of those who were in the car in York that night in July 1969, when a group of white people opened fire on her and her beloved family while they were harmless and about their own business. Welcome to yet another mind-raking video that would definitely make you agree that existence is in such great want of meaning. Today we are delving into the gruesome murder of Lily Bell Allen. The story of Lily Bell Allen is indeed a memorably sad one that could make you cry, an unthinkable misfortune. Nobody wants to end that way. Before we continue, don't forget to support our works by hitting the like button always. Share our works with families and friends to keep spreading these eye-opening historical tips, and subscribe to help build the rising membership of this channel. Your support means a lot to us. Hattie Dixon had died at 70 in York Hospital on a Monday morning after living for quite a reasonable while after her sister's death, carrying within the excruciating weight of the memorable experience and loss. She carried a lot of scars with her and a lot of memories, says Hattie's younger sister Settle, 72 years old. On July 21, Lily Bell Allen, a black woman from Aiken, South Carolina, who was visiting York with her parents, was riding in a car driven by her sister, Hattie Dixon. Dixon turned the car onto North Newberry Street and was looking for a grocery store when she saw a man with a gun leaning out of a second-story window. Multiple members of two all-white gangs, the Newberry Street Boys and the Girarders, were on the street that night, and many of them were armed. Dixon had begun to turn around in the intersection of Newberry Street and Gay Avenue, but the car stalled. As more armed white men began coming onto their porches, Dixon panicked. Her parents, who were in the back seat, began praying. Her older sister, Lily Bell Allen, jumped out of the car to get to the driver's seat and take the wheel. She flailed her arms. "Don't shoot!" she screamed, but that had fallen on deaf ears. Multiple shooters opened fire from the street, rooftops and windows, fatally wounding Allen. More than 100 rounds were fired at the car that instant, leaving Allen severely wounded, shot by several different types of bullets. The day after Allen's death, Pennsylvania Governor Raymond P. Schaefer declared a state of emergency and ordered an emergency curfew as 200 National Guard troops arrived in York. The Guard had left York 3 days later after the city seemed to have settled down. 4 prosecutors and 4 detectives spent 2 years trying to solve the Allen and Schad murder cases, which proved really grueling. Officer Henry C. Schad, a 22-year-old rookie with 11 months on the force, had been struck by a bullet believed to have been fired by a black rider while riding in one of the police department's 2 armored trucks earlier on that same year of 1969 before the murder of Lily Bell Allen. People who knew about the fatal shootings kept silent, either because they were afraid or they didn't want to be seen as traitors. "It was tougher than pulling teeth," said Thomas V. Chapman, Jr., who was lead detective on the murder investigations for the York City Police. "There were witnesses, but no one wanted to tell you anything. People took sides according to race and didn't want to cooperate," he'd added. Because there was distrust among blacks, prosecutors said they first tried to solve the Allen case, hoping that witnesses would then come forward to identify Officer Schad's killer. They weren't able to acquire sufficient evidence to charge anyone, and both shootings went largely uninvestigated for the next 30 years. Then, in 1999, the York Dispatch and the York Daily Record published articles looking back at the riots on their 30th anniversary. The articles raised questions in the community and renewed interest in the murder cases. York County Deputy Prosecutor Tom Kelly had his staff begin unearthing the case files and re-interviewing witnesses, and York County District Attorney Stan Rebert launched a grand jury investigation. They began the investigation with the gang believed to have been involved in Allen's murder, the Newberry Street Boys. Prosecutors learned that 3 of the gang members had committed suicide over the years, but that another, who was suffering from terminal cancer, wanted to talk. Before he died, he told investigators what he knew about the night Allen was killed. More developments came the following year after detectives visited the rural home of Donald Altland, another ex-member of the gang. Altland admitted nothing to the detectives but confessed his role in the crime to his wife later that night. The next day, Altland drove his truck to the Susquehanna River and shot himself in the head. He left behind a taped confession for the prosecutors and a message scrawled on a napkin, "Forgive me, God." On April 27, 2001, charges were filed for the first time in Lily Bell Allen's murder. 2 brothers, Robert Messersmith and Arthur Messersmith, both members of the Newberry Street Boys, an all-white gang, were charged with criminal homicide after witnesses told a grand jury that they had heard Robert Messersmith bragging about the killing. On May 10, 2001, 2 more former members of a white street gang in York were accused. Ricklin Noose and Gregory Harry Neff, identified as former members of the Girarders gang, were accused after witnesses testified they had been seen firing at the car carrying Lily Bell Allen. 8 days later, the day after winning the Democratic primary in his bid for re-election, York City Mayor Charlie Robertson was arrested and charged in Allen's murder. The affidavit filed with his arrest stated that Rick Noose told a grand jury that the mayor, who was a York police officer at the time of the riots, had given him the rifle ammunition that Mr. Noose used to fire at Ms. Allen and had told him, "Kill as many niggers as you can." Before a judge issued a gag order in the case, the mayor confirmed that he did shout "White Power" as encouragement to an angry crowd while he was on duty during the riots, but denied supplying the ammunition. Amidst public outcry and calls for his resignation, Robertson dropped his bid for re-election 1 week later. 4 members of the gang responsible for killing Allen committed suicide. This would seem like karma in effect, doesn't it? Richard Dickey. Wales killed himself in 1974, Robert Downey killed himself in 1979, and Michael Messersmith, the brother of Robert and Arthur Messersmith, killed himself in 1988. On April 11th, the year 2000, Donald Altland, 51, committed suicide a day after prosecutors interviewed him about Allen's death. Before killing himself, he recorded 2 tapes, one in which he described Allen's murder, and the other in which he begged his family for forgiveness. Before shooting himself, he wrote on a napkin, "Forgive me, God." In all, 10 white men were arrested in the spring of 2001 and charged with Allen's death. 7 reached plea agreements in August 2001 and pleaded guilty to lesser charges of criminal conspiracy in exchange for their testimony against the remaining defendants. 3 stood trial, and on October 18th, 2002, after 13 days and more than 100 witnesses, an all-white jury found Gregory H. Neff and Robert N. Messersmith guilty of second-degree murder, but acquitted York City Mayor and former police officer Charles Robertson. Neff and Messersmith were sentenced to prison, with Neff receiving 4.5 years to 10 and Messersmith 9 to 19. A 10th defendant, Ezra T. Slick, pleaded no contest to attempted murder and conspiracy and was sentenced in May 2003 to 2 to 5 years in prison. Neff was paroled on April 2007. Messersmith was paroled on October 2011. Lily Bell's story is a powerful testament to the enduring power of love and loss. It reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human spirit can persevere. But Lily Bell's story is not over. It continues to resonate through the halls of history, urging us to confront the darkness of the past and work towards a brighter future. It is a story that demands to be heard, remembered, and learned from. Her legacy continues to inspire generations to fight for a more just and equitable world where senseless acts of violence like hers become a thing of the past. Let us remember Lily Bell Allen not just for her tragic death, but for her life, her spirit, and the enduring hope she symbolizes. Let her story serve as a catalyst for change, a reminder that we must never tolerate injustice and always strive for a world where every mother can drive home safely with her children. This brings us to the end of this mind-moving video. We sincerely hope you were filled in all along. Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. We're eager to know what you think about this. Don't forget to also support our efforts by hitting the like button in front of you. Share with your families and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening Black narrative, and kindly subscribe to keep the channel growing if you are yet to. Thank you for watching.